Thank you, everyone, for tuning in today. Today's topic of conversation will be seed rounds and VC investing. Today, joining me, I have Hellrokr, an amazing MVHQ member that has had plenty of experience with VC investing and seed rounds, given he started his VC firm at the end of 2021 onto 2022 and forward, by the name of Mysteria Capital, if I'm pronouncing it correctly. I'm going to be dropping that in office hours chat for anyone to give it a good look. Little shout out, short chill, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, just want to say thank you again for joining us today, Hellrokr. I'll give you a moment to kind of introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about you, and what you got your eyes on.
Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be speaking amongst MVHQ members. This is my first time. So I'm basically based in India and I'm into pharmaceutical exports in my Web2 life, like my business. And I started crypto back in starting 2021 and was introduced to the world of private sales and seed round investing, etc. by one of my friends. And we went on to make the VC at the end of 2021, which Papi mentioned right now. It's called Mysteria Capital. So yeah, I'll be very happy to discuss and try to share the knowledge which I have on this field, and I'll be happy if I see some MVHQ members trying to get into seed round and private sales with me in this upcoming bull run, which should be hopefully soon.
Yes, indeed. I mean, we're all looking for some nice investments to get into, right? The worst part is, we're in the bear, so you gotta stay patient till the bull. But perfect time to get busy, get learning, get active. So this is the perfect time to start learning about these kinds of things, right? That's why I'm bringing us together to, talk about these topics today. So yeah, we can just jump right into it. Today's topics are going to be revolving seed rounds. They are how they're formed, how they've changed over time, and how they might differ. Right? You have traditional seed rounds, and as well you have Web3 seed rounds, which may be a little bit different because they involve crypto tokens, cliffs, contracts, all that kind of good stuff that we're going to be diving into today. So could you give us a brief explanation of what are seed rounds in Web3? How do they work? And just how they differ from Web2?
Yeah, so generally, if we talk about seed rounds or angel rounds, etc., it's quite the same with Web2 and Web3. Basically, it's just to start up, raise capital for your company and to get going. So traditionally in Web2, we know that there are rounds like angel round, seed round, and then if you go public, you can do your IPO, stuff like that. In Web3, the most basic way of raising money or raising your seed round, it's basically they have an angel round, which is big investors who are the first ones typically putting the money in for the company. Then there is seed round, which involves some big VCs, friends and families, etc. Then there's the private round, which is for the lower tiered VCs or the pooling VCs and few crypto groups. And then there's the public round, which is in form of IDOs or public sale on their own platform, which is for the normal investors, who want to get involved in the projects. And they all have their different valuations, different prices, different vestings, etc. So that's the basic layout of the investment rounds, basically in Web2 and Web3. I'm not invested much in Web2, so I'm not well versed, but I know the outline structure and it's quite similar.
Got it. So as you've invested in Web3 startups, what are some of the trends that you've seen over this time that you've been active, as well as um, what has been a point of topic that is growing still?
Yeah. So in the trends factor, like when I started back in 2021, it was majorly all the DeFi products, like they were flourishing very well. And in mid 2021, the whole traction changed to metaverse and gamification. Like P2E games were the hot picks at that time. But like those are similar to what we see in NFTs, like, right? We have metas for 2 months, 3 months, something like that. So there was this big P2E and metaverse meta in investments in 2021. But now I would say that like people have realized, like, there were so many cash grabs, like people was just putting out pitch deck and presentations and websites and raising millions of dollars without any kind of actual game or any kind of platform setup. So that way is like, we as an investor also, we evolved and we started to do our due diligence and like stopped investing in projects who were just trying to raise money and not have any kind of products and all.
Absolutely. I mean, you saw it in 2018 when Axie Infinity and Zedrun came running out of the gates, pretty much literally printing money at an alarming rate. And for the countries that it was most active in, it provided a way to make money by other means, right? That's why you would see a lot of people creating guilds, having a community of players, all that kind of good stuff. And as bigger companies started to get more involved, we saw a lot of VCs start to appeal to these kinds of things, games that were kind of already developed, but we start to realize games take a lot of time. So as we start realizing that, we're just putting money towards a promise and a dream. But the dream never comes true if there's no goals.
You're 100% right. Like, because I remember, like, I must have invested in like 30 to 40 games during this period, but like in all fairness, in last 1.5 years, no product has yet released. Like, no game has come out.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like they revolve over a similar model, same way to how we have revolving metas within NFTs, and some of them fall like within their own little echo chambers. I would say where they match each other, but they're not necessarily the same thing. Like you can have Wizards and Dragons, you can have Wolf Game. They all have a game aspect to it and a tokenomics portion of it, but they might be different in their delivery or actual game mechanics, right? And I feel like that was like the one thing that everybody was looking for, right? They want to know what's the next game that has something that will provide in the early run, but will also sustain for a longer amount of time.
Yeah, and it was the industry, like the gaming industry in Web3 was in a very early stage. So people were still figuring out like how to do the tokenomics. Like everybody wanted to copy the Axie model, but that too was not like you didn't have the longevity with it. It was just like it was bull run and everybody was printing. So it was going on. Because the thing with all these models is that when you are getting money in, you are uh, making profits, but once new users or new money stops coming in, then you start going down basically. So it was a kind of Ponzi essentially.
I mean, aren't there so many? But
Yeah, like
yeah,
almost everything is a Ponzi, but like people didn't figure it out when they were blinded by the number of X's what these games did.
right. And I mean, a very big thing that a lot of MVHQ members talk about, or people in general in this space. Most of these games are just not fun, right? So now the new challenges become trying to find games that you are attracted to for enjoyment as well. Not just monetary incentives that you might receive from it, right? We want to see the next Elden Ring have some form of blockchain technology added to it, but it's not as simple as anybody could dream, right?
Yeah. So the thing is, like in last 1 year, many big studios have come in who are now doing their games, and I think those games will be like to look out for. Not all these random stuff that cropped up in 21 or 2022 just to raise money. Like there is a game called Gunzilla, which if you go and see the trailer and if you see their team, like it has one of the most stacked teams in entire Web3, be it any project. And they are developing the game and they have been working on it for last 1.52 years, and it's ridiculous. Like if you see, it's the best graphics ever, and they have their product also, which is like which will be the trend, I guess. Like going forward, people will look at the product first and then invest, rather than earlier times when we just used to invest blindly.
I just dropped a link in Office Hours chat. Is that the correct account?
1 second. Yeah.
Dope. Yeah. So tell me a little bit about them. What do you think about them? What are they currently working on? What's
So
kind of like their model?
I was actually very excited for this project, but sadly we got refunded because like what happened was they asked us that if you want to continue with your investment with us, you need to buy NFTs worth 50% of the amount that you invested, which was a turn off for us because we were the initial investors. Like I think we funded in the seed round and we were amongst the first 10, 12 VCs who invested. So yeah, right now I don't have any kind of allocations, but the game and the team that they have, like I'm really excited, like what they'll bring to the table, and the graphics and all. Like I've never seen anything like that in Web3 till now, so I'm very excited about it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm looking at
I think
the one video
so
dropped, and it looks insane. It's something. It's something like cinematic clips that you'd see out of Halo, right?
yeah. So their team is very stacked. Like they have people in Halo, from Halo team, from Ubisoft, from all these big gaming companies, and they have a huge team. Like I think they have a team of more than 70 people who are working on it.
Oh
So
wow, that's incredible.
I'll put a link of couple of more projects. 1 second.
So I know that we're going to dive into this a little bit later, as we talked a little bit earlier today about the difference between investing through your VC firm and a direct investment, which is something that you just recently mentioned with receiving a refund on your investment. So could you briefly explain
Yeah.
why did you receive a
So
refund?
actually the trend in 2021 and 22 was like whenever project used to start, like when they came up with their idea, so they generally used to come to all these pooling VCs and a few angels to get the initial funding and get their project up and running. And let's take an example for Gunzilla. So suppose they wanted to raise 2 million. They did raise the 2 million from people like us, like, who are smaller VCs and who are not that famous in the Web3 circuit. And when they got traction, like once they got the attention of big VCs and once they get the attention of public and their project seems to be getting hype, sorry, new VCs want to come in, like bigger VCs like A16Z, Animoca, Almeida, etc. So what they do is they'll just refund us and they'll say that, like, we are giving the allocation to them. So that is a drawback if you're investing as a direct VC or as an individual. Like there are chances of you getting refunded on hype projects, but that generally happens when you are in a bull run. In bear run, projects don't have that kind of liquidity which people are throwing around. So that refund issue is not that big a deal in bear run, but in bull run, that is one of the biggest issue. But the biggest advantage is you are not paying any kind of fees. Like if you are investing via VCs who are pooling the money, they take around 12 to 15% fees. So for example, if you want to invest $1,000 in a project, you are paying 120 to $150 to the VC, and you are getting tokens worth $850. So if you are investing for a long time, that uh, 10 to 12% adds up, and that's a huge amount. So this is the basic like pros and cons of doing it via yourself or doing it via a group.
Yeah, and then once you're at a point where you're deploying capital and it's really just a numbers game, right? You're just trying to cast a wide net, because most of these
Yep.
will, we hate to say it, but they won't amount to much. But out of the ones that you do invest in, there is the chance that you hit that one diamond in the rough that will cover all of the other investments that you've been going into as well, right? And I think that's the majority goal that most VCs and large corporations are aiming for, right?
That's 100% sure, because if you see like people who are investing, let's say in 2018 and 2019 in these rounds, I'm sure few of them hit Solana and few of them hit Polygon, and they must have hit hundreds of projects that failed miserably. But that one investment in Polygon or Solana or project like big projects like layer one projects, you make your capital back in that one project. So that is our aim, like spread all your eggs in different baskets and hope for one of the golden projects to hit, basically. So like during our last couple of years in investments, we also hit a couple of projects like that, which did like 300, 400x at launch and sustained to more than 100, 150x for the next 6 months. So that is essentially the goal. Like, all the due diligence, everything is okay, but you need to have like diversified investments so that you might hit that next 1000x or 500x, whatever that.
Absolutely. So as you start to see the trend that as we started, there was a lot of drive towards games. Do you think that there is a different narrative right now, or no, I wouldn't even say like it overtakes the point of games, but another sector or topic of interest that maybe just isn't talked about enough, whether it's investing in protocols, um, investing in DAOs, whatever it may be. Well, is there any other sectors that you think we should be wary of and keep an eye on?
I think right now the biggest sector that is booming or people are trying to put money in is layer zeros and layer ones, basically. Because the thing is, like when you are looking to invest in bear market, you are looking to invest in projects that have a very good vision of next 3 to 5 years. And all these games and P2E or metaverse, they are kind of short-lived. Like they are trying to play on the hype. But projects like LF0, which is a layer zero, there are very good layer ones and layer twos coming. Like layer zero is a good project, etc. So I think right now my focus, and I think most of the people are focusing on investing on these big layer ones and layer zeros, so that like they are hoping that these might become the next Polygon or Solana for the next run, basically.
Absolutely. And the reason I asked that is because, right now the huge craze is layer twos, right? Arbitrum
Yeah.
was huge for many people. And as we're very excited to participate in the airdrops that happen, I'm sure that VCs would be even more excited to invest in these companies or foundations, right?
Yeah, like just to give you an example, I don't have the exact numbers in front of me right now, but generally, like for these big raises, like projects like Layer Zero, which raised like 200 million. So their seed round and private round prices are at a difference of almost 10x. So if you are in seed round, you are essentially sitting on a 10x. Obviously, your vesting will be different. You will be getting your tokens much slowly, but you kind of are in a very big advantage as compared to the private round and obviously as compared to the public round. Like if I want to say it in a very layman term, all these projects are basically priced in such a way that we can dump on public IDO investors and public investors, to be honest.
Yeah, whereas layer zeros, you're basically investing on the foundation of it, not the projects that are, sprouting out of
Correct.
that chain.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that brings me back to my next point of topic here, which is investment philosophy. There's always those projects that they're getting significant movement. Everything looks like it's going great until it isn't, and then you just hit that point where you have to decide whether that investment is morally sound for you, and whether you're gonna look at it from a monetary value, or you're gonna put moral play into it and see whether you should invest into it or not, right? So, could you share a little bit about your investment philosophy that you go through and how you approach these investments that come forth onto you?
Yeah, like to be very honest with you, I don't try to see it in the aspect of anything morally or things like that. But the first thing is obviously what meta is going on. Like right now, if we are in DeFi phase, so I'll try to find some protocols or synthetic products which involve dexes or things like that. If not, if we are in gaming cycle, I'll be looking out majorly for gaming projects, but obviously I'll keep an eye on uh, other projects also which might do good. But yeah, like you have to be very smart with your investments and try to get in early with the hype. Like when Metaverse was in hype, if you had invested in Blocktopia, you would have made bank. But later on, there were many projects which tried to copy them and they failed miserably. So it's similar to NFTs that we do. Like when the meta is hot, you try to invest that time and make the max gains out of it. And if we are going to dive into how I select my investments, like the first and foremost thing for me is which team is involved in the project. So I try to find out maximum things about them. Then I dig into the tokenomics, like what is the prices for the rounds which they have raised prior to us. Like suppose if we are getting the private round, I see what is the angel round price, what is the pre-seed price, what is the private A, B, C if other rounds are there, what is the public price, and what is the vesting, because vesting is very important. Like suppose the price is 10x for the seed round, and if they are getting same amounts of token as us during the launch of project, we are at a very big disadvantage and they are most likely going to dump on us. Because one thing which we learned is like no matter how big a VC are you are going to dump these projects. Like you are also here to make money, right? There's very few VCs who tend to hold their tokens. I was not able to find the list, but we had a list back in Bullrun where we used to track the wallets and um, like try to find out which VCs are holding so that we used to invest a little bit higher when the VCs that hold were investing. And we knew there were few dumper VCs who used to just dump their tokens as soon as they get it. And apart from this tokenomics team, I tend to look at what previous projects they have done or what Web2 experience they have or what kind of hype is there surrounding the projects. I think those are the basic criteria to go in any kind of projects.
Yeah, I would say very big on it doesn't matter how much money's being brought into it as opposed to whose money is being brought into it, right? If you are gonna have
100%.
yeah, if you're gonna have VCs that are just gonna dump right after their vesting cycle is finished, you're gonna end up with a bad awakening at that moment. So I agree. It's very important to look into who's investing as well as how many people are investing, um, just so
Yes,
that you're covering your back. At the end of the day, you're here to make money, right?
correct. Like even when we were investing via our own VCs, we had made a rule that we won't be dumping more than 50% of the tokens in the first week. Like suppose in first vesting we are getting 10% of the tokens, we would never dump more than 50% of our allocated tokens. Because if we are not supporting the project, then they won't be going ahead. Like if all the VCs just keep on dumping, the project can't move ahead because in the end, then people will be scared and they'll dump on us too. So the price action goes downwards, and like it. Agreed, we are here to make money, but like to make a project successful, all these initial investors and VCs they need to support the project too.
So I have a question. Have you ever gone into a situation where other VCs reach out to you um, regarding that investment and whether they're talking about offloading X amount of tokens? Or is that something that VCs usually don't talk to each other about?
So we never faced such a situation, but I know that there are like when a project has a market maker or something, so they talk to them and try to offload their tokens if they want to sell a big amount, and that ways it can be done. But so are you talking about the launch projects or the projects which are still raising?
I would say launch projects, like not post raise when you already have your tokens and you're looking to offload.
Yeah, yeah,
Like in that
yeah. So that
grace period,
yeah.
are you reached out by other VC firms that are involved in that
So
project?
that depends. If the project is like if a particular VC is interested and like he's very much conviction of that this project will do well, so he might approach us and approach the different investors that I'd like to buy a tokens OTC. But all the good projects who are doing who are doing well or are big, they generally have their market makers, and VCs can directly speak to them and try to do the deals OTC.
Interesting. Yeah, I had no idea how that would go about, or if they actually interacted with each other in those aspects, like OTC deals, similar to how we do with
And
NFTs.
VCs, generally all these pooling VCs, they are interactive with each other because, people are generally referring all these projects to one another to get the raises done. So that way, yeah, interaction is there, and we tend to speak to many VCs, which we are member of, or even if we are not member, we try to introduce projects if we feel that they are good, and even they bring us some projects. So it's a give and take kind of relation.
hmm So, could you tell me a little bit about the projects that you've invested in and what you've learned from investing in them, whether it's good experiences or just a lesson learned? Take your losses there, and then just eyes forward.
Yeah. So the investment when you're doing in seeds and all, the main thing you need to remember is like it's a very high investment thing. Like suppose you start investing from today, you will be investing in projects that would be releasing in next say 3 to 6 months. So it is a very capital intensive investment because your money will be stuck for a long time, and you will only see liquidity once the project releases, and that too in very small tranches. Like most of the projects nowadays give you 5% on the TGE or 2% or 7%, or maybe they have a cliff at TGE. So you have to be very smart on how much amount you're investing. And for me, the rule was like, suppose I want to invest $1,000 in every project. I tend to invest the same amount in all the projects. So, I don't miss out on some gems because there are some projects which we feel are not good, but they do very well for some reason. So I made it a point that if I'm investing, I'll invest X amount. If only I like the project very much, like if we knew that it is a very hype project or a very good team, or we had some info like, this will do very well, then only we used to increase our amount. But you need to be very smart about it because soon you'll realize, like, I've invested all my money, but I don't have any liquidity now. And a good project comes around, then you'll have to miss it. So that is one of the biggest thing that you need to take care of, that there will be very big liquidity crunches. So what happened with us was we invested heavy at the end of 2021, and the bear market came in. So like right now we have around 100 projects that we have paid and invested in, but they have not launched in the whole year. Like it's been 18 months now. So that is a thing which you should always take care of. Like try to invest small, but try to spread your investments in all these as different types of areas like gaming, DeFi, protocols, etc., layer ones, layer zeros.
Absolutely, just diversifying your portfolio as a whole. So, as we talk about the investments that you've gone into, can we jump into the importance of a VC's track record and making sure that you are not just investing, but investing with that in mind, right? Like everybody's going to know that you invested in X project. And as time goes on, you kind of build this track record that you're known for. And that could go, in a positive light or in a negative light. Could you share a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so I'm sharing a link of a game which I think most of you must have heard about. It's called Star Atlas. So the thing what happened with Star Atlas was they raised in 2020. Like they started in January or something, and they completed their raise in end of 2021. So they were not having that great kind of development, and most of the VCs, they got restless and they were saying like this is a scam and you need to refund us and things like that. But one of the VCs called X Network, they supported them, and they knew that this team is building. There are some hiccups, but they are still doing their work, and they are going to be one of the best games out. So they supported. And what happened was when Star Atlas came out with their beta, and when they were about to launch the tokens, they refunded every VCs, like all the smaller VCs and all the uh, pooling groups except X Network. And when Star Atlas launched, it launched at 350x. Like the launching was at 350x. So they made a lot of money on it. And
350x.
Yeah. And that was
That
a
is crazy.
sustained, and that was a sustained 350x. It was not like, a bot wick, like it went to 350 and then down to 50x. It went to 600x, and for next 2 to 3 months, it was at 250 to 350x. So the VCs which supported them during the period, when other VCs were asking for refund and all, they kind of made the money, and they were the winners basically because they supported the project. And you need to have your name in one of the good VCs, because if people see that you are dumpers and all, you will not be getting any kind of allocations in good projects, because everybody knows how to keep an eye on your wallets, on which wallet you are getting the tokens and all. So it's not that easy like before. Like, it's not easy just to get your tokens and dump it on the market. You have to be very smart about it. You have to support the project, as I said earlier, like sell in batches, sell via market makers, etc.
Yeah, you can't just dump your
uh,
tokens directly into
yeah,
um,
you need to
a
support the
market.
project also. But yeah, if there are few projects which that these were kind of cash grabs, and now they are just launching for the sake of it, then if you are dumping, that is okay, because everybody will be doing the same thing, because they all want to exit the project. But yeah, otherwise, like if you are doing it regularly, your name would be blacklisted, and people would not be giving you the allocations, and they will not approach you with any kind of new leads, and that ways.
Interesting. Yeah. So it could. I mean, I didn't. I had no idea that it would go that far as to get blacklisted. Is that something
Yeah,
that
they
you've
do.
seen
Like
happen
I
to a lot of people, or is
yeah.
it more on like a rare occasion?
A few people, because there was this big VC called Moonwale. I remember that guy. Like they were a group of two people or something, and they were very respected. Like they used to invest in all big projects. But suddenly, I think during mid 2021, people started to realize that these guys are dumping everything. Like as soon as they get the tokens, they used to dump their whole stack. So in late 2021, people started to blacklist them, and they don't like used to give them allocations and all. And now that VC is completely gone. I'm sure like they must have made it under different name or something like that. But yeah, like these things happen, and now it will happen much more, because like as markets are evolving, people tend to get smarter, and they know that how our VC is working and all. So yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. So I mean, it's very similar to how people are tapped in within the NFT market. They understand the trader's philosophy, right? Like whether
Yep.
X group trades a certain way, if botters are minting this, like similar to like how when we open Catchment and we see the groups that we're following, they minted this. This means that this project might be traded this certain way, or we might see this as we go into it. So it's kind of similar to how you guys see that in the VC world, right?
Correct. Yeah, it's quite similar.
So are there times where there's most of these things that overlap within NFTs and VC investing for you personally?
I think like basics are the same. Like even when you are investing in any NFTs, you tend to see the team, you tend to see the hype, you tend to see what they are trying to bring to the table, or what they are trying to build. So it is all kind of similar in a sense. The only thing is like NFTs are mostly liquid and are short term. Like if that this project is launching, so they are launching in next 15 days or 1 month. But with these projects and investments, there are many delays, and like you cannot be sure. Like if they say that we'll be launching in 2 months, you can't be sure. Like as I said, like there are 100 projects which are still not yet launched, and their TG was planned in 2021 or mid 2022. So as per the market situations and all, I think it's a little easier in NFTs, and it is much more liquid, because in suppose in private sale you have invested $2,000 in a project, you have no option to get it back until and unless it gets released, right? But in NFTs, you can book losses and get your at least percentage back, or that way. Like, but in this, you are stuck. Once you have invested, you are invested till the project releases, and you get the tokens from them. So that aspect is a little different, but otherwise, yeah, investing in a project, things which you look at are quite similar.
Yeah, sorry, my dog was going bananas right now, but I totally get that. Yeah, as you can hear him right now, he's a little bit too happy. Um, where did I leave off? Lost my train of thought with good old whiskey. Um, oh, I remember now. Okay, yeah, I wanted to talk about, as you mentioned, Star Atlas, some of your investments from 2021, 2020, rolling on to 2022. I know that you wanted to cover some of them and kind of give light to how you invest, right? Like there's some projects that they won't see the light of day, but there's some other projects that, in hindsight, might have not been the best decision, or you might have not seen it unfold the way it did. But now look at it, right? It's done a lot better, or you got a great return back from them. And just to be clear, not financial advice, just discussing a little bit of financial history with a good friend.
Yeah. So what I was saying before also, it's like if you invest in 100 projects, you will get one or two diamonds who are doing very well, and like 70 to 80 projects would be lackluster. And this all things which I'm talking about semi bull run or proper bull run, because when we are in bear, the private sales market is the worst market, because like there is no liquidity which is coming in new projects, and you won't be making any kind of money. You need to be like the best time to invest is bear market, because those projects which are actually raising or doing work in the bear market are the teams which are trying to actually build something. So these are, I'll give one example. So this project, one second, posting the link. There's this project called Blocktopia. They started their raise in May 2021. And if you remember, like in May 21, we had a very big crash. Like BTC went from 69 to 30 something in one day. And I still remember, like me and my partner were discussing about this project, that should we invest or not. And he's like, I know that market is very fucked right now. Sorry, I'm not sure if I can say this word, but like the market is very bad right now. So should we invest or not? And I was like, the team is good. Like they had head of Sony VR in the team and all. So we were like, let's reduce the size for this. Like, suppose we were investing 2,000, we invested only $1,000 each or something like that. And this project came out in July and it opened at 1,200x. Like, we had only 5% unlock at the TGE, and our initial investment was at around 50x or something.
That is
So
absurd.
I mean, yeah,
That is
yeah. So what I'm
insane.
trying to say,
And like, just to
yeah,
keep in mind, like, right, these are not NFTs, right? Like you're going for way bigger entries on some of these projects, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah. So that's what, like, you have to kind of be in the game if you want to make money in this section. Like you can't be selective. It's not that you are active in, say, like couple of months and you invest in five projects, and after that you are not looking into the new projects that are coming in or in the market, like how it is behaving or what is the trend. Then most likely you are going to lose money, because this is the game of odds. Like, to be very honest, or say like that, like you have to be in the game and you need to keep on investing. Obviously, I'm not saying like invest in every project, but you need to maximize your investments and try to diversify as much as you can. Because if I was going with my sentiments during that time, I would not have invested in project like in Blocktopia, or I would not have invested in LF0, which is a layer zero. They also started raising during the crash which happened in May 21, and they had 100% unlock tokens. Like when they launch, you will get all the tokens. So we were skeptical about that also. Like, in this market when everything is dropping and they are giving such terms, like, everybody will get the tokens. So I'm sure, like, we were sure that it will dump, but they had a good team and they were working on the product. We studied about them. Right now, even in this market, they are sitting at 15x their price, like the initial price, basically. So you need to kind of diversify. That is the main thing which I say, and you need to kind of control the amount which you are investing, like be comfortable with it, because all your money is going to be stuck for first 3 to 5 months when you start this journey.
Yeah. So is there like a number of projects that you try to aim for on a yearly basis? And it doesn't have to be like right, like each project that you invest into might be a different price point. But just like a general average that you try to aim for.
Yeah. So like we try to invest in at least 5 to 10 projects every month. Even in bear market, we are investing in like 3 to 4 projects a month, which we feel are going to do well. But obviously, we have reduced our investment sizes. Like if I was investing $1,000 before, now I am investing 500. Like just to give you an example. But during the bull run, the thing is you can't really put a number, because the thing is there used to be 10 to 12 raises every day during the bull run, and that time like you need to be very careful, because during the euphoria period we tend to just put money in everything. And just to give you an idea, in pooling groups what happens is, suppose in a particular group they want to raise 100K and there are 50 people, they will put the cap as 10K. So you need to be very fast. Like if you are not sending in first couple of 15 seconds or 20 seconds, the race gets over very soon. So that pressure is also there. So people tend to overextend themselves, and that is the mistake which I did in 2021. Like I used to, whenever there was a raise, I used to just send blindly, because every project was doing 10x, 15x. Just like when we had the NFT bull run, every project was doing well, so people used to blindly buy anything which used to launch. So that was similar case in the investment cycles also. But yeah, I think like we then decided like during this period that we need to be very smart about our investments, because right now people are not investing money and we have a chance to get on any project. Like a month back, if you emailed layer zero, they would have given you allocation also. So yeah, like as I said, the strategy for numbers in bull run is not there. You need to be smart and just try to invest in maximum projects which does not look like a rug. And the good thing with these pool groups is like they are also doing their due diligence, so you get a little bit more cushion. Like you tend to know that these projects won't rug. Like I've invested in around 250 projects and only 3 to 4 projects have rug. So that's a very small number if you compare it to the whole crypto space. And I think that's fairly, you can say that it is next to zero.
Yeah, I mean that's incredible. 250 projects, only 2 to 3 rugged. I mean your track record's unbelievable.
Yeah, because like as I said, all these VCs they also do their diligence, so it kinds of help. But yeah, like you have to be careful during these slow periods. Like now is the time to find the gems, but now is the time to preserve your capital also. So you need to be smart about it.
Yeah,
But
you don't
yeah,
want to
like
be spreading yourself
if
too
if
thin when it comes time
correct,
to
correct.
really deploy your capital and push forward onto the
Yeah,
projects that are really going to shine.
100%. But yeah, like right now is the best time to find projects who are doing, like who are building or who are raising, and try to find like projects those who have vision for the next 5 years. Because if you know the history of crypto, and if you know the top 100 coins of say CoinGecko or any tracking websites, whenever the new bull run comes, 80% of the coins are replaced. Like what coins we used to see in 2020 are no more. Like only a couple, like 15 or 20 coins will remain. So same thing will happen in next 2 to 3 years. So we need to find those coins that will be there basically.
Right, always finding the next cook, as good old Mitch
Yeah,
likes to say. Yeah, you got to stay active. You got to make sure that you're not staying behind as everyone else, right? Um, it is kind of interesting seeing it from a larger investment, right? Like we bull run for us can just be like you just made 2 ETH in an hour. Like it could be very volatile or kind of hectic at times, but um, I didn't think
yeah.
that it would be similar to that aspect, right? Because you have to wait longer periods of times for the return on your investment.
That is there, but the pressure on us during bull runs, like suppose I was in around 5 to 6 paid VCs, like the pooling groups. So in bull run, there used to be say 5 raises in every group every day. So you have to research 20 projects a day. Like obviously there are many overlaps, like many projects come in all the groups. But the hectic thing in bull run is you get shitload of projects, but you need to be doing your research and just putting money in the ones you like. But otherwise, like, yeah, your money is basically stuck with the project until and unless they launch and your vesting is over.
Absolutely. And as we get into our last topic here with challenges and opportunities in investing, just want to urge everyone that has any questions about anything we covered today, feel free to drop them in guest questions, and we'll be covering them as we finish out. Um, but I want to go over risks and challenges for investors. Investors are people that are trying to get into VC investing in seed rounds.
Yeah. So risk obviously is rugging, which I said, which is fairly low in the market. Like if you are going through good channels, it is fairly low. But yeah, if you are trying to invest directly, you have to be much more careful because like there are many rugs in this space also. The biggest risk for us was that only. Like a project not doing well is okay, I understand, but a project taking your money away, your capital away is a big blow. And the second thing is risk of refunds and all, which I mentioned. Like if you are into a very good project early, it's not necessary because every power which is there in the cap table, everything that lies with the VCs, I mean, sorry, with the project. For example, if we say about Blur, suppose I invested 10,000 in Blur in the seed round. Blur had all the power. Like if they wanted to remove the investment at last day, they could have said like, we are refunding you the 10K. We don't need the investment now. So that is a risk which you have to take and hope that that you won't be getting the refund. And there are some cases where VCs also rug, but like in my last 3 years, which I've done this, like we have filtered out, like via which VC, which we should invest, because all these VC which I am in right now, the paid ones, they have been here for last 3 years and they have handled more than like say $100 million worth of tokens for us as in the whole group. Like a group, if suppose you invested 100,000 in Star Atlas, they had to distribute like $3 million worth of tokens in the first unlock itself. So we know that these guys have been here for a long time and they won't be rugging us. But yeah, when bull run comes, there are many small groups which start cropping up and they say that we are a pooling VC, and instead of paying 12% fee, you pay us 9% fee and we'll get you the projects. So that is a red, I mean, what do you call, like it's a risk which you're taking for saving that 2% and trying to get into new groups. So I have not gotten into any new groups in last 1 year. Like I'm happy with the groups which I have right now. I know that I'm paying a 1 or 2% extra fee than other VCs, but like for me, I know that I trust these guys and I've been with them. Like I've invested hundred thousands of dollars with them, and they are never going to run away with our money. So that was that. Like these 2 3 things are the biggest risks.
I also want to mention your VC firm. It has 3 other partners, correct?
Yeah, yeah.
Now, as everyone should know, right? You got to be able to trust your partners when it comes to investments and when it comes to the hard times. Is there any time where you have realized, like, oh, maybe we should have approached this a certain way, or things that you've learned with investing with other people, right? There is one thing investing by yourself. But when you involve other people, you need to be all on the same alignment when it comes to what your vision is and how you won't stray away from that.
You're 100% right. Like there was like whenever a project comes, firstly we take a look at it ourselves, and then we used to have a discussion. Like, do you think this is interesting? Because the thing is, if uh, you are investing via pooling group, you have a chance and you have an option to invest a small amount. Like you can invest even $500. But if you are doing it via your own group, generally the ticket sizes are 15K, 25K, 30K, like that. So we used to be very much careful with our investments, and there used to be some disagreements also. Like I remember a project called one second. I'm not remembering the name exactly right now, but I like the project very much. And once we did the call, both of my partners were like, "This looks like a rug pull. We don't think they can deliver what they are telling and all." So we had a little bit of argument also, and I was like, "Okay, like if you are all not comfortable, we'll not invest in it." But that project, when it launched, it turned out to be legit, and it did like 50x. So yeah, things like these happen. But we like if you have multiple people, you have multiple eyes. So many things which I may miss, they are pointing it out in different things. So yeah, but
Yeah, that's a
otherwise,
good.
like we were all pretty much on the same page. Like regarding how much capital do we want to invest, or how do we want to approach the selling part, because it's one thing is investing. The second biggest thing is how do you plan to sell. Like if you are four people, one guy might be happy with 20x, other guy might be like, let's hold for 40x. So we had everything panned out before only, like once we started and made the like we had our number set in mind.
Yeah, I think that's very crucial, right? Before really jumping into anything, just understanding, we're not here to stay, right? You gotta have an exit strategy uh in the works, or at least ironed out,
Yeah,
so that once you're in it, you're not really bickering or trying to figure out like um the way that you want to exit, right? Because once you're in it,
true.
you're in it. You got to go all in.
Yeah, because when the token launches and all the things are going on so fast, like you can't just take your decision on the go. Like you need to have certain amount of numbers and all decided amongst yourselves beforehand, to be safe. And like that helps a lot, like because four people are there, there'll be disagreements on selling, buying, etc. So we prefer, like we used to have our numbers or percentages of selling, buying, etc., everything panned out beforehand only.
Right, right, right. Okay, man, I really enjoyed this conversation. I had a wonderful time talking to you about everything. I think it's time we just turn over to guest questions, see what we got cooking over here. I see that Mr. Bull has shared some alpha, as always. Very much appreciated. He dropped a Google Doc, or Google Sheets, my bad. It has a VC tier describing when he was heavily invested in VCs during last bull run, kind of measuring out how they are, whether it's diamond hands, value add, brand name,
Oh yeah,
and
yeah,
their
yeah. I
score.
think this we had a similar sheet. Yeah.
Cool, cool, cool. Yeah, so he has that in guest questions for anybody that would like to check that out. Pretty cool. I used to do that as well when I was running a NFT trade desk. I think my special factor was special sauce. Some projects either have it or they don't. And on to our next question. Nastrovje, what's the best way to get into some of these pooling groups and how to find the good ones?
Yeah. Um, so I'll send the links over tomorrow, like because I'll need to, take the links which are applicable or like available for few people. Because right now, if I send it, I think it's invalid. Like I'll need to ask the owners to share the links. Some are free, like there are a couple of free groups, and some are paid. Like I think one ETH entry is there for one group, and I would not recommend you guys to join it right now to pay, because right now there are not much raise going on. But I'll share the links of these pooling groups which are there. You don't need to be a accredited investor or something like that. You just uh, join the group and you can start investing whenever you want.
Awesome. We will get those links to you as soon as we can. On to our next question by BTC Alchemist. How can a startup repay investor capital? You mentioned Blur. Is that a special clause included for every strong startup?
So basically, everything works on a SAFT, right? And in Web3, there is no such governing body. So that's why I said, like, the project has all the power. If they are doing well, they have the right to refund anyone at any given point of time. I know there was a case, there was this project called Alien World, which did 350x, and a couple of VCs were refunded after the launch. When the token launched, it went to 350x, and they told, like, we are refunding you. Sorry, you're not getting your tokens. So that risk is always there. Very rarely it happens, but yeah, like the project has all the power and they can refund you at any given point of time.
Yeah, I mean that would be a
I
nightmare.
think, but yeah,
That's a nightmare
yeah,
and a
but I
half.
think that's why, obviously US has got very strict with all these ICO IDOs. So what they did was, like, now projects are starting to raise in equity also, like not just the uh, IDOs, and I mean not just the tokens, but they are giving equity also. So I think with equity that is coming into play, it will become a lot tougher for these projects to do such kind of things. But yeah, till now there are many cases which happened, and I'm sure like it will keep on happening for the projects which are just doing the tokens. So what they do is, like, they use our money and they get the hype and all, and once they are happy with the uh, project hype and all, they just try to get bigger VCs and refund the smaller VCs.
On to our next question by good old Mitch. Did I wreck myself aping into this fair token round? Looking at it, it's
I have not.
called influence, prepare for launch. We
One
also
second, I'm just
have
looking at it.
another question. Yeah, go ahead. I'll read off Mr. Bull's next question. I don't know if you've mentioned or even invested as a key opinion leader, KOL. So you normally have no fees and good/higher allocation per project. In exchange, you do a DD and create some project insights, posts, assessments, threads, of course. If the project is interesting to you, you do that.
Yeah, he's 100% right. So when I was mentioning about the type of round, so after seed, private, public, before public and private, there is generally a KOL or influencer round in most of the projects, and yeah, those influencers, they can directly approach the project and get an allocation. And yeah, they have a decent sized allocation, and there is no fees involved if they are approaching the project directly. But yeah, if you are going via some aggregator or via third person, you might have to pay some markup. But yeah, if you are an influential person, I'm sure Mitch can go to any project and he can get an allocation because of his brand of MVHQ, like, just to give an example.
Yeah, I know KOLs are a big part of this whole thing. I just wasn't sure at what point and period there would be
Yeah. So generally, they have a round
integrated
which
into
is
it.
better than they have a round which is better than the public price, and it might be on similar terms to private, or sometimes a little higher than private. That is how the structure is there generally. Even Scottco asked the question. Uh, it's before the sheet which Mr. Bull
Oh, I
shared.
missed that one. Yeah, coming in late, but wanted to ask: have there been any similarities historically in the best investments that you have made? Common things to look for.
Yeah, the common things is obviously the team. Like, whatever projects we invested and they did very well was, like, they had a very strong team, and they had a very big or good backing of the best VCs in the space, or even Web2 VCs. It's not necessary that only Web3 VCs. If you have good Web2 VCs, then also you can gauge like how the project is doing. And it also depends on the meta. Like, if you are getting the first mover, like Blocktopia was the first project to get into metaverse, one of the first projects. Like, so it did like a very big X. Star Atlas similarly was the one of the first projects which got into gaming basically. So they also did very well. So I think, yeah, you need to kind of try to find the first movers in the new meta, and obviously the team tokenomics. One thing I forgot to mention is, like, whenever you are seeing the tokenomics, you need to see the team vesting, because that is a very big thing which I every time look out for. If the team vesting is, suppose, we are private investors are getting tokens in 6 months, and even the team starts getting the tokens. Like that is a very big red flag for me, because this suggests this shows to me that team is not serious, because they don't believe in their project and they are getting the tokens after 6 months. So I think ideally, if the team takes like 2 years, 3 years vesting, I pretty much feel like, they are not just to get the money, and they are uh, focusing on building basically, because the money which they are raising, they are generally taking it for the runway, right? So they are getting paid anyways. So why do you want to get your tokens so early? Like from what
Right.
I
You're
remember,
basically
Star
getting the
Atlas,
same
yeah,
vesting schedule as your investors. Doesn't look good.
yeah. So if I'm not wrong, Star Atlas had like 5 years lockup on their team tokens. So this gives me an idea, like, they are pretty much interested in building the project rather than, just making the money out of the token. The other way these projects kind of rug, just I wanted to add, like, rugging and all is okay, but there is one more thing which we saw in 2022, like the projects which were substandard, and they raised the money and they just wanted to get the launch done. What they did was, like, they just cut short the liquidity. While providing us the tokenomics, they said liquidity would be 500K or 1 million or something like that. But they launched with 30K in liquidity, 50K in liquidity, just to prove that, we have not rugged your money. We launched the token, but we failed. But that is also a kind of rug which you will see. Like, it is common, like every one out of, say, 15 projects do that.
Really.
Yeah.
So, mm, what are some of the projects that you're bullish on? If that is all, I mean, if you have to take all those things into account, what would be
Uh,
the next thing that you're aiming
yeah.
for?
I am bullish on Layer Zero. The only thing concerning me is their valuation. Like, it is too high. Like, the returns can't be, the mad returns that we see in crypto. But the project I'm really bullish on. Like, I love what they are trying to build, and their team is very stacked. They have raised a big amount of money, which I'm sure, like, they'll be good to, like, they'll have a very good runway for their team and all. Other couple of good projects. Let me give me a second. I'm just
Of course,
there's
take
this
your
project
time.
called Banger Games, which I'm very much interested in. Like, they're trying to build an aggregator for different games and marketplaces for in the gaming side, and to build a lot of indie games and integrate into their platform. Like, they're not going for a triple A type of game, because I think the crowd in Web 3, they don't understand, like, building a game is a very big task. Like, you can't make a Halo or Counter Strike or even Warcraft in 2 years. Like, it takes years and years of development and like hundreds of millions of dollars. Yeah, the link which you posted, yeah, this one.
Yeah, absolutely. And
And
you mentioned that these are more focused on indie games, correct?
yeah, like, they'll be aggregating games, and uh, from what I remember talking to them, like, their focus was going to be not triple A, but uh, like, integrate many games and try to get a huge user base by that. Like, there was a similar project which launched in 2021 called Nakamoto Games, and it also did really well. Like, it was at pretty much 40-50x the whole time before we crashed, and still it is at 4-5x of our price, and they're still building. So I think, like, this can also do well. Like, it can get a lot of new Web 2 people to Web 3 if they have some kind of, revenue sharing model or incentives for these people, because a triple A gamer won't shift to Web 3 for anything. Like, I know that Dookie Dash and all got a lot of eyes, but I don't think so. It's a good example to say that, people will come to Web 3 for gaming. But yeah, if these
Right.
small,
I
because
mean, I will
like,
say that they were breaking molds, or barriers, I would say, to have I think it was Mongrel, the
yeah, Mongrel.
young guy, got number one on Dookie Dash and made, I think it was like 2 million or something like that, off his
Yeah,
off his
you're
sale of his key.
true. But the thing is, like, he was amongst top 1% of the game which he was playing anyway. So people know that, he's a pro that way. And then, like if you go to see a game like Candy Crush, everybody feels like, I'm doing my time pass also and I'm good at it also. But if you can't compare it with pro gamers, like only the community which are following him, they will know that, he won this much amount. But for other people, it will be like, yeah, he's very good at gaming. That's why he won. For getting the actual, like masses, we need something which is smaller and easier for them to do, and not just these big prize money or prize pools. Because from what I feel is like people see these success stories and they don't like they also want to get the next 1000x or 100x, but they can't just get it like that. Like I always believe that the gaming in Web3 will only flourish if we are focusing on smaller games rather than making AAA or complicated games. Like that is the reason I'm not very much bullish on other side, because it is really complicated. And that being said, like I've been a gamer myself. I've been playing computer games and Dota for last 12 years. So that is how I
Dota
feel. But
for
yeah,
12 years.
yeah,
Oh Lord.
yeah.
I thought I was down bad with League and I just started like last year.
No, no, no. I used
So
to
we
be
have
playing for
okay.
India's top team for 5 years back in the day.
Okay, so everyone, if you don't know, we have a seasoned vet in the crowd. Uh very
Yeah, but
strong
like
mental fortitude.
as I mentioned, like this is my opinion. Like I could be very much wrong, and you guys proven people wrong every time. So yeah, I'll be happy if they do very well. But for me, I feel like it's a little complicated for a normal person to come in and get into the groove and try to adjust or learn about what they're trying to do.
Yeah, I mean, there's always different approaches to gaming, right? Whether they take the builder route and create something like Fortnite, where you can create something within your own land, or something more narrative driven that has a story purpose to it with a multiplayer aspect. There's just so many different ways they can approach it. But I hear you. I mean, that's why there's so many different kinds of games. I'm a big fan of indie
Yeah,
games
yeah,
myself too, because some of these small studios they work on games for I don't know, like 3 to 5 years, and they absolutely crush. But there's so much work that goes on behind the scenes and sacrifice that usually isn't seen, and then people expect games to come out so quickly, right?
true, true, true. Like even about Star Atlas, like they are still not into their like they have not launched the game. I think they are still into the beta testing, and they have been making it for 2.5 years. So yeah, obviously, game takes a lot of time, and we need to understand before investing or getting into any of these games. Like it will take time, and if you are patient for that time, then only invest in these. Otherwise, like you are just investing into cash grabs.
Well, you heard it here first. Check your games and learn about everything around them, right? There's so many things that you have to take into account, not just for what you're investing, the amount of time that you have to put in for due diligence. And yeah, I just want to say a big thank you. I really, really enjoyed our conversation today, especially ending on games. I was like, oh, perfect. But yeah, I feel like we covered such great topics today. Diving into seed rounds, VC investments, the psychology and philosophy behind trading, what it's like to work with partners, um, looking back at some of the investments that you've made, and also assessing the risk for VC firms and individual investors within Web3. So yeah, I just want to say big thank you to you for taking the time today. I know it was a little nerve wracking for you, but glad you took the time out, and you could share a little bit about your story. We could all learn a lot, right? I took a whole lot out of this conversation today, and yeah, just a big thank you to you. Thank you to everyone that tuned in today. We, as always, have these recorded, so as soon as they are live, we will be sure to ping you in video content forum.
Thanks a lot for having me. Like, obviously, I was very nervous when you first told me, because this was my first attempt at, conversation amongst people about it. So, I'm hoping like people got an idea about how these work. And if you have any queries, or, if you want to discuss further, like we can discuss it on the voice chat channel or DMs anywhere. And I'll try to get the links by tomorrow if people are interested to join these groups and try to take a look on how things work in detail.
Perfect. Yeah, you heard it here first. If you have any questions, feel free to hit up Hellrokr up. And yeah, I think we can drop the links here in office hours chat as we go into the weekend. We won't have any events, so if you're looking to find these links, most of them are dropped on April 21st around 5 p.m. Eastern and forward. If you want to use the Discord search. Yeah, thank you all again, and we will catch you all in VC1.
Thank you, guys. See ya.
Cheers.